Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode from Up Between the Lines, which is all things MLB, news, reports, all that good stuff. But before I get into it, if you guys make sure to hit that like button, also hit that subscribe button, make sure to ring that notification bell. So you guys want to notice, consistent episodes like these each and every week, even going into the off season. That being said, we're going to kind of just hop right into the meat and potatoes of this thing. First thing we're going to be talking about was Ronald Acuna Jr. Obviously, about a month ago, making some MLB history, which was having a 30 plus home run season, along with 60 plus stolen bases, which, quite honestly, has been very intriguing to say the least. As much as I hate the Braves more than anybody, I got to give my respect to one of the most electric players that even though in terms of our division rivals, so to speak. And Ronald Acuna Jr. has really shown to, be, kind of I would say that face of that franchise. Because let's be real, outside of him, I mean, I would say that's been a while since he let Freddie Freeman walk. That was a whole different situation in its own right. But yeah, Ronald Acuna Jr. has now reached the rare 30-60 club. And like I said, it's interesting because this version of MLB right now, especially with the new rules with the shift violation, which I'll talk more on that, along with the bigger bases and whatnot, which I was all in favor for because let's be real, someone who still plays the game, yeah, getting spiked, it's not the kind of stinks. And the fact that it's really hard to explain what it is, and obviously the pitch timer, I'm still 50-50 on it. But yeah, so Ronald, we all know the Braves are still going to win the NL East. That's kind of given at this point. I mean, for those who are not really paying attention to the NL East, but yeah, Ronald Acuna Jr. Put up, let's be real, I would say in a way, MVP type season, so to speak, because I think he's the kind of guy that I do believe can be the 2023 NL MVP. But I mean, also, there's other, candidates he's got to have to go up against. Probably, I think another guy you could probably make an argument for the MVP for the National League is probably Mookie Betts. I think it's just one of those two. It's, I do think if it's going to come down to two guys in the National League, it's probably Acuna and Mookie Betts, because right now it's when you look at the rest of the National League, it's kind of hard to, outside those two, can really make the argument. You know what? I think if you want to make another case for the MVP, got to throw Matt Olson in there. But I don't think, look, Matt Olson, it hasn't really had the greatest season, but I do think he should have at least some consideration for the NL MVP. But right now, like I said, the biggest two candidates I would say for the NL National League MVP is Ronald Acuna Jr. and Mookie Betts. Yeah, talk about the Rangers. They just kind of stink since making that trade deadline acquisition for Max Scherzer, and it's not to say kind of sad, but it's kind of crazy for a team that led was in first place for most of the year and decide to go into a funk at the worst possible moment. And to be quite honest, it's kind of embarrassing. I don't say embarrassing, but then again, well, man, I think most bullpens nowadays, yeah. And also, I think also center the fact that ever since when you traded for Chapman, look, those few appearances where he looked dominant, I was thinking to myself, I don't think that's going to hold up for a while. And, because I don't think Chapman's that good as people are making, as he once was. Yes, I mean, he's up there in age. I mean, still in fantastic shape, but the problem is he just has a tendency to blow a lot of games. And we saw that with the Yankees. And at times, go back to 2016 with when he was with the Cubs, unfortunately cost. That's what I'm saying. And the fact that, cost or actually forced the Cleveland Indians at the time to go to extra innings in the World Series because of Chapman couldn't do it. And it just seems to me like he just, for some reason, just doesn't want to show. Or even though it was a regular season, these are regular season games, which let's really do matter. I don't care what anybody says. So look, and really looking at how everything has gone on with the Texas Rangers, I think they're still going to be a good team for years to come. But the problem is you need younger pitching. I'm sorry. Like, I think that entire pitching staff is old. Andrew Heaney, like I said, I don't think he was going to keep up what he once was down. Well, even though he was gets knocked around when he was with the Dodgers. But what's going on, John L? But like I said, for those who are just coming in, we are talking about Ronald Acuna, and also talking about some other things as well going forward within the MLB, with Acuna making some MLB history, having a 30 home run, 60 stolen space type of season. Obviously, one of my picks right now to be the NL MVP. But like I said, it's not. I don't think if he does going to win it, I don't think he's going to win it by a landslide. That's for me. It's the fact that you also had Mookie Betts, who one could also make the argument too of him having the winning the MVP, and and especially with the Texas Rangers, though, yeah, it's been that the second that's kind of, I would say, been very, very disappointing for the Texas Rangers, for a team that was lackluster the last handful of years. Decided to made some interesting moves in the offseason again. Seager, Marcus Semien, and also still have the younger pieces with Jonah Heim, Josh Jung, Mitch Garver, who's been solid, but not the greatest by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think the Texas Rangers, I definitely could see, like I said, I think that if you look at that, most of that teams that right now currently in the NL West, besides the Seattle Mariners, who early on were very disappointing, which was kind of obviously not crazy, but it was kind of surprising to see for a team that made the postseason last year for the first time in over 2 decades, which when you think about it, yeah, it's kind of crazy. And quite frankly, it's been an interesting, honestly, not an interesting conversation for the AL West, but it's been an interesting division to watch because we had a team like Houston, who I don't think is a wild card contender. I don't think that way. But I do believe, I think Houston's going to find a way to somehow steal this division away from Seattle. And it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be very interesting. But at the same time, I don't think Houston's that kind of team. Look, as good as they are, as talented as the talent that they have, quite honestly, it's I just don't, like I said, I just don't see the Houston Astros as a wild card team. Now, if they somehow play in the wild card, that's a whole different story, because you have a team that's, right now currently the defending World Series champion, consistent division winner the last 3 to 4 years. And now this year kind of, not say take a step back. Yes, I mean, dealt with some injuries with Altuve a little bit. And a lot of teams did. That's for certain. And look, I get people hate Altuve, but at the end of the day, the dude has really become one of the greatest second basemen of this generation. I'm sorry, that's the way I look at it from a talent perspective. Yes, I mean, the dude has done like yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, see, that's what Altuve is all about. And that's what I've always respected about it. Look, throw the cheating crap out the window. It's I don't know, man. It's been this the fact some of these baseball fans don't want to let that go. It's like first of all, it's like what I'm finding hilarious about that was like a lot of baseball fans not want to let the cheese kind of go. A lot of times, I do believe some of these fans don't really know the history of how the. Oh, let's put this game's been around over 150 plus years. You cheating's not it's not nothing new in baseball. You even look at the records from the dead ball era. You had to pretty much use like different like spitballs and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, look, cheating always happens in the sport. It happens. Look, in this history's game, yeah, once turned out to be a gentleman's game, and then after a while, it became what it is now over the last 100, I'd say 152, almost 160 years. I mean, you got to at least understand that from that perspective. Yes, it's a little bit, but yeah, but really looking, I mean, and look, Jose Altuve's been around for a long time. I mean, it's been in this league since 2011. Yes, and those even though those Astros teams from the early 2010s were not the greatest, from what I remember, I mean, we still had guys like Lance Berkman, young Jose Altuve, Hunter Pence. I remember correctly down in Houston. Might I add too? This is before they became before they make that jump or the move in 2013 to become an American League team, because at the time, MLB had the AL West. When we look back prior to obviously 2013, there's only 4 teams in the American League West: was Texas, Oakland, Seattle. Uh, okay, now I'm drawing a blank on another team. Oh, and the Angels. And who can I forget by probably the worst team in baseball? Well, in baseball today, but I mean, it really does make you wonder. And especially at the time, what makes you wonder why would Houston make the jump to the American League? Well, I think one can make the arguments like the NL Central was crowded, to say the least. I think it had like 6 teams in the American League Central before they finally allowed Houston to make that move in 2013 to even out the divisions. Having 5 teams in one, at least 5 teams apiece per division. Because, like I said, Houston, before they made that jump, were in the National League Central, joined with the likes of the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Pirates, and even the Cubs. Which is kind of crazy when you look back at it. It's like, really, the Houston Astros. You would think the Houston, like, if you ever were to stick where they were, I would have wanted to say they would have been a National League West team, competing with the likes of the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, and I would say the Lonely Rockies. And quite honestly, I think baseball has really come a long way since that I'm saying not realignment, but that kind of. But then again, you could probably call that a realignment. Well, really moving on. Congrats to Ronald Acuna, who's continuing to put up an MVP type season. Like I said, if it were, and that's the thing too. I think they really done. The Braves have really got to give them the props. As someone who's the division rival. I do think, gotta give them credit too. They always find talent, find gems like that. But really, for those who are wondering about Jose Altuve, since you brought that up, overall, he's been in the league since 2011, racked up 2021 hits, 207 homers, a career batting average of 307, 1,049 runs scored, 735 RBIs, 292 career stolen bases, and all. And the dude just has done, has had a really good career. But it's going to be interesting though. Like, what can anybody make the argument that he could be a Hall of Famer? Let's be real. For me, I do think one can make the argument he could be a Hall of Famer. But then again, no one with the cheating scandal, like that, really, a lot of baseball fans need to move on from that. That's just me. But regardless, moving on. Yeah, since we did talk about the pitch clock and some of these other rules, but the pitch clock in particular has been not been but yeah. But speaking with the pitch clock though, Major League Baseball is not going to really because there's been talks of Major League Baseball potentially extending it into the postseason, even though current as it stands, it's not going to happen. So it's still going to stay the same going into the postseason. Yes, I know the pitch clock has been, I would say, met with mixed emotion or mixed feelings because number one, we don't really need a clock in baseball, and and the other argument is that yeah, look, at baseball times, baseball times can be long at times, and sometimes I could see to speed up the pace of play, which has been kind of the biggest initiative the last few years. Um, and quite honestly, I do think the pitch clock should be extended. I'm sorry, that's the way how I feel about it. Um, and yes, I mean when you look at the pitch clock when it first got implemented here in the major leagues, I think early last year, um, or before or actually I think this year in particular, we've seen guys that had a hard time adapting. I mean, guys like Alek Manoah, who third was runner up at the Cy Young voting last year, and just all of a sudden, as soon as that pitch clock was implemented this year, just took a step backwards. And yeah, guys just had a hard time adapting. Guys like I said, guys like Alek Manoah, Aaron Nola, Wheeler, and probably countless others who have a hard time adapting to the pitch clock, and also too, no, we had especially even with the hitter side of things. But I mean, it's still kind of stupid the fact that the MLB won't extend the pitch clock in the postseason. But hey, look, what am I gonna? There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just a general fan, just watching the game itself. Um, but moving on, obviously, speaking with the Phils, and one player in particular who has finally I feel like has figured it out. Was Trey Turner. Now, yes, Trey Turner is one of those guys that for me was the fact that just was very disappointing. I'm like I said, I'm not going to really sugarcoat it. The dude was just flat out terrible, disappointing, whatever negative words you want to use. And that was early in the first half. It's like the dude it just seems like he was in his head too much. Really was trying to do way too much to impress the city of Philadelphia, which, no better than anybody was, and perfect example for this was Nick Castellanos, who was, shall I say, not great. I want to see some other words, but I don't. How that really turned out when Nick in his first year with Philly. But yeah, I mean, has put up a decent season. Yes, Nick's kind of been on a bit of a struggle as of recently, kind of going to slump. Trey, yes, missed last night's game obviously because he was put on the paternity list. But his second half turnaround has been very impressive to say the least. It all started when we just decided to, and yes, we do. For those that really understand Philadelphia baseball, we at times we are very ruthless, and sometimes we do get a bad rap for being, well, let's be real, kind of dumb. Besides the point, the fact that we decided to give Trey a standing ovation to help support let's because or at least support him, at least raise him up because the dude was just struggling. Couldn't really find what needs to click. There's a lot of things that were going wrong with it, both offensively, even defensively as well. He's been better as of recently. And to be fair, I've been very impressed with Trey. The fact he's finally cracked over the 20 home run season, 20 homer season, the 20 home run mark as a Philly. But it's just I could really imagine what if we weren't having these struggles and not realize, not to try to do too much is where my obviously not my problem, but I mean, what could have been had his first half not been so terrible, awful. Like I said, there's a lot of words you can describe. His first half of the season was just god awful. Um, and it really is showing that he, he could be a fan favorite for years to come in this city. Along with his teammate Bryce Harper. For those who don't remember, both played with the Washington Nationals. And yes, and Washington did let Harper walk and wind up with the World Series with them. And at the same time, and he has and after, especially after looking at after that Washington Nationals team back in 2019, it also shows to the fact that they also had other options as well. I mean, minus letting Bryce Harper walk in the season prior and in 2018, but you also had guys like Strasburg and Rendon who, well, let's just say they've has not been great for both. Strasburg, I would say worst case scenario, I would say he wasn't terrible, but the problem with me with Strasburg was that like he just couldn't stay healthy, which he hasn't been what he once was. Now, yes, that also factors, age could be playing a factor, but like no matter how hard he tries to stay healthy, like there's always somehow a weird setback. And unfortunately, Strasburg had to retire. Pretty much say he couldn't. Pretty much in a way. Look, I'm basically how I look at it. Pretty much saying, look, I'm done. I can't stay healthy, which is sad to say that when he first came up, boy, he had a lot of hype around him, and he lived up to that hype for a while. And it's just unfortunately, as the years went on, it's his injuries just took a bit of a hit, and just couldn't stay healthy after that, and we had to go through Tommy John at one point. Even though looking back at the contracts, both Rendon's and Strasburg's now, yes, even though Strasburg is retired, they're both terrible. Let's be blunt here. Like one in particular is the fact that Strasburg is getting the same, or in a way that what Chris Davis or and Bobby Bonilla is getting. No matter how, like if you still got to go through the rest of your contract, but they're going to start paying you out like in deferred payments. So Strasburg is they're still going to pay him regardless that he's. I mean, look, even though he's going to be retired, they're still going to pay him. And it's, well, I would say it's been a tough road for Strasburg. The way I look at it, and like I said, the injuries piled up on him. He was getting older. Like there was a lot of factors that has got a lot into it. As with Rendon, well, let's just be real. I mean, got the same deal from the Angels that Strasburg got, and yikes, it's been not good. Not great. Better be put in speaking. Because it's the fact that Rendon's another guy that couldn't stay healthy, and and prior after winning the World Series, the Washington Nationals had options. Because both were going to be free agents after the 2019 season. So as the off season began, this was prior to the lockout, and we want to forget about that dark moment. But besides the point, the Nationals had a couple options to do with Strasburg and Rendon, and what I mean by that is the fact, look, yes, they were going to be free agents regardless, but they had a choice to make. You either resign Strasburg or would you keep Rendon? Because right now, those are your two key important pieces. Because, like I said, and this was way prior before they traded Juan Soto, which, looking back at it, you probably would say, oh, can you potentially see Juan Soto ever getting traded away from the Nationals? I'll probably say no, not really. And then, yeah, I mean, we get a chance to see it because I mean, I guess he doesn't want to put up with the crap that's going down in the nation's capital. Because let's be real, that franchise, like I said, I've never seen a franchise who wins a World Series and goes in terms of a whole completely 180 and completely stinks up the joint the last 3 years and technically 4 years, and now you're counting this year as well. But I really do think that the fact that the Washington Nationals, I don't know, I think it's going to be a little bit tough for them to get back to what they once were. I mean, you had guys like Harper, Soto, Rendon, Strasburg. Even at times you had guys like Michael Morris at one point. Ian Desmond was okay, not the greatest by any stretch of the means. I mean, Ryan Zimmerman, who's always going to be a national for life. Even though, yes, as a Phillies fan, it was kind of a pain in the rear end, so to speak. But it's with the Washington Nationals. There's always been talks with him, like the owners sell out the team. Could they get new owners and all this stuff? Even though that's not really hasn't happened yet. I mean, right now we've seen one team already getting sold in the nation's capital, but that's gonna be a different conversation for another day. Um, and the way I look at how this season has played out for a lot of some of these teams, um, it's been an interesting season to say the least for some teams. Teams like Texas, who led, with the Rangers, led most of the American League West for most of the year before hitting that figurative wall. Um, Astros, if someone would have asked me the Astros were going to have a slow start going into the 2023 season, and I would probably say to that one person, you're going to be crazy. I don't think the Astros are a team that can always get out to a slow start. Guys with Altuve, Kyle Tucker, Mauricio Dubon has been a really nice piece over there. Jeremy Payne has been, I would say, it's not disappointing, but going through a sophomore slump, which technically does happen to some rookies. There's some times where I've seen some better second years from these younger players, and I do think Jeremy Payne is going to have I definitely believe Jeremy Payne is going to have a bounce back year in year 3 with the Houston Astros. I mean, look at the pitching staff as well. I mean, Hunter Brown's been is a very disgusting arm. Verlander's been kind of very disappointing ever since going back, since getting traded back to Houston from the New York Mets, which we'll talk about the Mets in just a moment because, boy, there's a lot of things I got to talk about that. It's like I said, I do believe that, like I said, I will stand by this, and I do believe that the Astros will win that division. No, I think they're too good not to. And I think when you look at it, yeah, it is the Astros divisions to lose because right now, obviously, the last 3 to 4 years has been the Astros divisions to lose, and they've been very consistent with it. Look, no matter how you think of it's like, the cheating scandal, all that crap. It's time to move on from that. Let's be real. The fact some of these baseball fans still can't even let that go, it is ridiculous. But regardless, though, like I said, with the Houston Astros, I mean, you still got some veterans. Yeah, I mean, with Hosea, who's been a lifer, which at the end of the day, even though yes, I mean, he's seen some of the not the greatest teams that the Astros have put on the last, obviously in the early 2010s. But has put up to be one of the best second basemen in this generation. I will still stand by that. The dude has over 2,000 hits, almost 300 career home runs. I mean, the dude is just a hitting machine. No matter how you look at it, if you go back to, like, say, was it 2013? Yeah. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking, what happened 2013 2014? Someone let me know in the comments because I can't think of it right now. But Jose Altuve has done, let's be real, has put up a really good career with the Houston Astros. I mean, I think he has a couple of seasons where he's had over 200 plus hits. Like the dude, like I said, no one can really respect. It's like that's the one thing that hangs over the Houston Astros, like, oh, the cheating scandal or the bang on trash cans. It's like move on. That's the one thing that have always been bugging me that really bugs me as a baseball fan. It's like, move on. Because it's kind of funny, like how these baseball fans do say, "Oh, we're a fan of the sports." Like you don't know the history of the sport. The fact that cheating has occurred back then. That's the what's going on NFL reality check. What's going on? But yeah, it's like people don't really understand. Yeah, cheating has happened in the Deadbolt era. When you guys like Babe Ruth, Ted. I mean, really look at it. Like cheating has been nothing new. I would say in the game of baseball. I mean, let's be real. The game's been around over 150 plus years, and the fact that people are still making the cheating things. That's nothing new. I really laugh at that because you don't really count the dead boy that has had its cheating moments. I mean, look, you had the 1919 Chicago Black Sox at the time throw the World Series because they want to make it, what was it, extra money or whatever it was from what I've read. And yet you had 8 guys get in trouble for that. One in particular was Shoeless Joe Jackson was another guy that, could have been the Hall of, is another guy that has not been in the Hall of Fame, in the Baseball Hall of Fame because of that. That was the one thing that's, been very interesting to really, to not say talk about, but once you read up on it and watch the movie that they made based on the 1919 Chicago Black Sox, you can really understand how crazy at the time. Speaking of my co-host coming in, we're going to break up into another segment with Tyler coming in. What's good, Tyler?
None much, man. None much. Thank you for making me the co-host, and thank you to the Sports Wave Network for putting us on the network.
Absolutely.
And thank you to the fans who showed up to watch. What is our next segment that I'm coming into?
Right now, I've talked about Ronald Acuna Jr. making MLB history with a first 30 home run, 60 stolen base type of season, which has never happened in the sport. And also MLB not extending the pitch clock, we just talk about that. I talked about that not going to the postseason, and also talked about Trey Turner's second half turnaround after, let's be right, first half that was very disappointing, to say the least. But if you're a Baltimore Orioles fan, I think you're going to be really liking what I'm really liking what that farm system is looking at and put down with the Baltimore Orioles. Because one of the prospects, Jackson Holliday, for those who don't know the last name, if you've been living under a rock, that's Matt Holliday's son, who...
Yeah, you really have to be congregating under this rock to not know that Matt Holliday's son.
And then this is the crazy part. The kid's only 19. He's already got promoted to AAA. He is flying up the minor league systems like it's nothing with the Baltimore Orioles.
He's fast tracking. Because I think just to start the season, he was in single A. Now he's in AAA.
Yeah, by September. And we may potentially see him, as part of one of the September call-ups with the Baltimore.
If he keeps it up, man. If he keeps it up, he'll be there late September.
It really is. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Not so crazy, but it's been very impressive to see what teams like Tampa, let's be I think, have been consistent, but not really as much. But Baltimore finally turned the corner and actually become a team that we could have seen in years past. How had they not been so god awful? But it's actually impressive to see, a team like Baltimore to finally actually. Let's look at the AL East for example. You had teams that are already exceeding expectations. Baltimore is one of them. Even though I'm not really I mean, I wouldn't say they're really exceeding expectations, but look at the moves. It's like, when you really look at the moves, I mean, get Kyle Gibson and guys like that. It's like they're going to be good, but I don't think they're going to be great. But hey, I mean,
for me, I feel the same way, man. When they got Kyle Gibson, I'm like, this screams like a wild card move, not like a leading the division move. And, seems like they're just trying to go for a wild card.
Apparently not. Apparently
they're exceeding our expectations. Apparently.
The Boston Red Sox is another team that's I was kind of wrong. We're both wrong about, because going into this year, I am
dude. Dude, they had that slow start in April, and then May, June they started to figure it out. But they were already in a loaded division, so they couldn't really climb anywhere in the division. And now they're back to bottoming out. It's like something's got to give with this team, man.
It's like there's no consistency. It's like
None.
it's a lot of peaks and valleys. Like
Up,
2018 was
down,
your
up,
peak,
down, up.
2019 down. It's like, dude, it's like, come on, like we need
And that's
more
how it's been
consistency.
for years. That's how it's been for years. It was like 2004, they reached their peak. 2005, they were down. Up again in 06, or up again in 07, down in 08. Up again 2018, down in 2019.
Slightly up in
Slightly up in 2020. They really got up there in 2021, went down in 2022,
and
and now they're slightly up
slightly up as they're
in
kind of flattening out in 2023.
yeah.
And yes, I mean you still got to go with the likes of Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and well, if you're a New York sports fan, boy, even though do I feel bad?
Is it them Stankies? Yeah, I'm kidding. Is it the Yankees, man?
Yeah, they're actually they're actually 69 and 69 through.
I'm gonna stop right there. We're PG.
Even though, yeah, they're an even 500 right now. And look at the, it's yeah, that's
tough. Yeah.
Look, where I think can make a decent run. Tampa Bay, not so much because we've seen.
Yeah, we've seen cracks in that foundation from theirs all year.
That Moneyball analytical crap's doesn't even work apparently.
Yeah,
Toronto, I still can't trust.
Yeah, Toronto.
It's the back end of the bullpen that does it for me.
Yeah.
Look,
yeah.
you got.
I was about to say that.
It's the back end of the bullpen that concerns me because look at last year. How do you go? Okay, for those who are what I'm referencing, look at that AL wild card between the Blue Jays and the Mariners. Toronto up 8-1, lose 9-8 to the Seattle Mariners for a team that, quite honestly, I feel bad for the fans. Man, not seeing postseason baseball for 2 decades. It's that's oof. Even though, yes, and then we are also the families that complain, say, "Oh, we didn't see the postseason for 11 years." So, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, like look at us. We had to go through 11 years of pain before we broke our streak last year.
But for the Seattle fans to sit there for over 2 decades of pain, it's like, ugh, and I really do feel bad. Because
like,
for a team,
we were complaining about
one team that the Seattle Mariners had. Ichiro, you saw you saw Griffey. Let's see, who else did you? Edgar
you had
Martinez.
Ichiro, you had Griffey, you had damn. I forgot.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, you had a stat team in Seattle in 01 that won over
right now currently holds the best
right
now holds the record in baseball with the best record. 116-46 is the record to beat.
They only
I don't think
46.
no one's touching that. I'm sorry, I don't think no one's touching that.
No one's.
If you're going to ask me a team that could potentially break it, I would have to say that I think the Dodgers will be a team I could see breaking it, but I don't really, because I don't think they got the talent to do so. But at times the Dodgers have been, what's the word I'm looking for here? At times can be streaky, is what I'm looking for. Streaky.
Or like our friend Key likes to put it, the Katy Perry syndrome.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, look, you still had, and look at the roster for the 01 Mariners. You had Dan Wilson behind the plate, John Olerud, Brett Boone, Carlos Guillen at short, David Bell at third, Al Martin, Mike Cameron, super underrated as hell back then.
In
center. Right field, Ichiro. What I also liked about Ichiro, like he played off as like, oh, I can hit singles, but the dude's got a cannon of. For those who have not watched Seattle games back then, dude's got a cannon.
I think it goes woof off his hands, like it's like 110 miles an hour off his hand.
I think one game when I really looked at it, it's like the dude tried to go to tag up the third, gets thrown up by Ichiro. It's like, what? See,
And the best part about Ichiro, bro, he never lost his skill.
No.
Up till the day he retired, he had never lost it. Ever. from day one to day whenever he retired.
And then he had also probably one of the best DHs in all of baseball in Edgar Martinez.
Oh, Edgar Martinez is underrated, bro. Underrated.
No one getting. Well, really, looking at how it's going to be interesting of what going forward is, because Baltimore, yes, we have our certain criticisms with the Baltimore Warriors. It's both positive and negative. The positives, I think the fans finally get to see what winning baseball looks like in Baltimore after 9 years, give or take, because the last time the United had a winning season was in 2014, when you guys had Adam Jones, Manny Machado. Unfortunately, he had to be stuck with Chris Davis, and that was something.
But the thing is, though, Rob, that was when Chris Davis was good, actually good.
Yeah, last time Chris Davis actually didn't want to go freaking not having like a hit list tree. That was those were the
what was he? What was he? 0 for 25 before he got his first hit.
0 for 56.
It was worse. Okay.
His first hit came against the Boston Red Sox of all teams.
I forgot about that. He went 56 straight games without a hit.
It's it was
just, after a monster 2014 season, the next year he goes 0 for 56. Yeah.
And it was also ironic. Look, I know we meme on the Mets for Bobby Bonilla, but the Warriors are doing it, and so are the Nats. I didn't even talk about the Nationals are doing the same exact thing, because right now with Strasburg retiring, which was very unfortunate because dude just couldn't stay healthy. The dude was a good talent. It's just
he really was, man.
Like I think age and just injuries caught up to him, and currently right now I think he's owed over 150 million, but they're doing it in deferred payment. So basically, they're doing what the Baltimore Orioles are doing to Chris Davis.
I feel like though the Mets situation is far worse because they had done this since 2001.
Yeah,
they had to pay a retired Bobby Bonilla since 2001, bro.
Every July 1st.
That's far worse. That's far worse.
Even though we do laugh at it, though, it's like I think the most, not just from not us as the division rivals, but I think just entire baseball just laugh at it because just for a team that's for a franchise that always had some really good talent over the years, just for some reason they just could not put it together after '86. I mean, you had guys like look at the obviously between the 2000s to the 2010 man, guys like David Wright. Honestly, probably the biggest what if story had not injuries derailed his career. Well, let's bring. I think he'd go down as one of that best third baseman in Mets franchise history. You cannot argue with that. It's just. I mean, you said Ike Lucas Duda, who's been not the greatest, was okay. Yeah, Travis d'Arnaud, who actually kind of stunk with them before he had some okay years, but he was just not that great. Ever since when d'Arnaud went to Atlanta, I think he just became good apparently. But in terms of the prospects and whatnot, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of prospects we might be seeing. Baltimore, we could potentially see Jackson Holliday, maybe not. We don't know exactly for sure Baltimore. We don't even know what the plan for Baltimore is yet because right now currently 9 to see them actually have a winning record for the first time in 9 years. And yes, I mean there's a positive as well. You got Adam Jones, or actually he's going to retire as an Oriole. That's been talked about in the news a few months ago. And now the negative criticisms we have with the Baltimore Orioles, it's not from the team perspective, but it's the ownership. We talked about it's how do we describe this? Let's be real. John Angelo is we talked about this before, and for those that have not really seen the video that we dropped on John Angelos, and all in all, the dude just doesn't know how to run a team. Let's be real. For a team that, I mean, guys, Ali Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Westbrook, you got guys that are your superstars of the future, but you don't have the payroll to actually give him extensions. That's where my problem is with that. You're cheap.
They really have they really have to like up their payroll situation though. But that's like another rebuild. You have to get rid of all these players just to rebuild
And I don't
again
think
to get a higher
I don't think
payroll.
the Baltimore fans want to go through that again because you've done
They
that
don't.
9 years.
They don't want to go through that. They
And
don't.
it stinks because I like Adley Rutschman because I've seen him a lot with the baseball bat bros. The dude looked like it, and dude was a good player in college. You also got Jordan Westbrook, Gunnar Henderson, who are also phenomenal players, and yet
Unless you can back low contracts, then their money
I
situation in
don't.
Baltimore
Yeah,
is
that's if you're going to ask me like who has the worst ownership in baseball, probably I would say. Okay, so the way I look at it is you can make one of many arguments. One, you could probably make the argument that Oakland A's it has probably one of the worst owners in baseball. Probably same with
they don't
Baltimore.
even want to, dude. They don't even want to stay in Oakland. They want to move to Vegas for some reason. And they said they didn't even care how good the team was.
Yeah, which is with the Oakland
And,
A's.
and then you anger the fans because the fans want them to stay in Oakland.
Because you already took the Raiders. It's like Oakland just cannot catch a break.
You took the Raiders from them to Vegas. You took basically you kind of took the Warriors from them.
Even though they get
In a way,
interest.
in a way, not real, but in a way they did because the Warriors play in San Fran now as opposed to them playing in Oakland at the Oracle.
Yeah, and now you got Oakland, who
Oakland's moving to Vegas. So you have a city, a smaller base city, mind you, that don't have any sports teams now. No sports teams are going to be in Oakland by
I say in like a couple of
2027.
years, give or take.
I think they said the deal will be done in 2027.
I think so as well.
So by 2027, Oakland isn't going to have any sports teams.
And honestly, I feel bad for the fans. I really do.
For sure.
It's just like for a team that I would say, for those who have not watched the movie Moneyball, of how I would say it pretty much caught lightning in a bottle, figuratively speaking.
Yeah, I feel like I sat there and I watched that movie. I'm like, man, they got lucky with that team.
That's one of those fluky years. Even though they had some decent talent. They actually, even though but another team.
I hate how they run the team. It's like when you get good, you're not staying. You're moving to a different team.
But if you
when you get good, like that's
what I'm saying.
There's no longevity there. You're good. You're moving to a different team or rebuilding again because the whole team is.
Thing too, when you look at the history at the Athletics, we were the first seed to have the Athletics first before they relocate to Kansas City.
Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why Oakland left Philly?
Shoot,
it's because the Phillies and the Athletics were button heads. Because both teams wanted to be the lone team in Philly. We ended up with a better end of that deal. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Even though, but yet, yeah. If you talk about the team or a franchise has its worst moments in MLB history, not just from the player aspect, but just in society wise, it's us. I'm sorry.
Listen, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Our fans can be a-holes, all right? I will say that. I will admit to it. Our fans can be jerks.
Not just that, too, but look at the turn of the time of Jackie Robinson. Remember, for those who watched the Morty 42, you'll understand why.
I wanted to cry. Dude, I literally was so mad about that. I was like, I'm about to front run to a different team just because of this dang movie.
Even though when you look back at then
again, I look at the time like, yeah, this was like 19.
That was more acceptable during that time period. But when you look at it as one of your favorite teams, unfortunately,
that's a blemish. That's a huge blemish.
Yeah,
That's a
it's a
giant.
dark
That's a
moment.
gaping. That's a dark moment.
But the one thing which you have to take about from the and look, whether you're not if Graham, look, when you look at the what Jackie Robinson did, it never goes unnoticed.
No,
Yes,
he revolutionized the entire game
let's put right
for
in the cup.
black for black people, man.
Yeah, I mean,
For people of other races to join the teams.
because
So
for
so
those who don't,
so 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 that baseball could be unified, which I love.
yeah, and another team we have not. Well, let's just talk about another team that has crappy ownership. The Angels, for all intents and purposes.
Let's overpay for washed up veterans
I mean,
and
it's
not give Otani and Trout help.
and
And honestly, I was watching Jake's the Snake Sports Show, Jake Show. Shout out Jake. He said it best. This team does not know how to build a roster. This team does not want to. The way they build the roster, it's like they don't want to win. It
no,
seems
it
like.
really doesn't. And the
It,
fact
it
you had
seems like they just don't want
multiple,
to win. It's
even
like,
Jake, you had
and
multiple.
plus the culture isn't there either. Like, give Otani and Trout help. Stop overpaying for washed up veterans.
Because I mean, if you look at it, this too. When Rendon came in there, he got the same exact deal that Strasburg did from the Nationals. And when you look back at
Yeah,
it,
and yeah, he had that good first year. He batted like 250 or something.
yeah,
And that good.
that
He
was
had
a
that
COVID
good
shortened
first year.
season.
No, it was like 60 games, so it doesn't really count. The next season, he gets
Gets
hurt.
hurt.
The next
This
season after that, he gets hurt.
gets hurt.
The next season after that, he gets hurt. It's like it was like
He
a
can't.
cycle.
He has not played. Like I think the most games he's played in the last
But
few years.
Rob, I wonder why. The guy is old.
Yeah, and Jake said it best. I mean, for the last 20 years that the Angels, they had some star talent that they had. Guys like Torrey Hunter. I think when Torrey Hunter in his prime was phenomenal to watch.
Torrey Hunter was a dog, man.
There's probably going to be names that I'll probably be missing because, Angels been pathetic.
Torrey Hunter. I forgot who's on the Angels. I just want to look at that 0-2 roster, to be honest, see who was on that team. That team won the championship.
And you also had Mike Scioscia, who at the time for me, I think like as a manager, just unfortunately got the short end of the stick.
Yeah, my buddy over here, Zach, keeps sending me TikToks. Him to Overstreet, man. Anyway,
so, but look. I mean, you also had Houston Street in the bullpen, who's been, I think, still underrated to this day. I don't care what anybody says. I think Houston Street is just one of those underrated relievers that no one. You also had Troy Percival. Oh, how do I not know that name? I had not heard in years. Percival or Percival, whatever.
Percival, I think it's Percival.
Yeah, another guy that I think look at that roster. He had Francisco Rodriguez, solid reliever. Tim Salmon.
He was great too. Yep. See, that whole roster, they knew how to build a roster then.
So here's the thing. In 2002, the Angels went 99-63, which was good for second in the American League West.
Yeah, exactly. They knew how to build a roster then. I don't know what happened between 2002 and now, 20 plus years later. It's just not been great.
They seem to forget. I mean, they
forgot how to build and Jake said it best. They prefer quantity over quality.
I mean,
that's the issue. That was what I was trying to find here. I couldn't remember what exactly said until I figured out they prefer quantity over quality. They don't give fans quality. No. They just think that the wins automatic, because they think that because the Angels organization thinks just by overplaying for veteran players they don't think are they washed up? They don't think are they washed up? Are they injury prone now since they're older? They don't think about that. They think, we're going to bring so many veterans, we're going to win games like that.
Yeah, not so much.
No, You got
I
to
mean, look, Rendon's become even during after he left. I don't know. I don't know if this is a coincidence, but I do think after Rendon left Washington, he used to be somehow became even yes. I mean, he got as as you get older, like you may not have it, but it just seems like ever since when he joined the Angels, became super injury prone. I don't know if that's a coincidence or
and
not.
that's another issue with the Angels. The conditioning. There's a lack of it. You
I
have
mean,
guys like Rendon getting hurt. You had
Trout for some reason can't
Otani.
stay healthy
Trout
for
can't stay healthy. Now you
and it's
have
sad. I
Otani.
mean,
Oh, hold on. You have Trout that gets hurt. Then you have Otani with the UCL injury.
oblique injury too at the same time.
Now we doing no oblique. So we've got 2 injuries in one season.
And it also makes you wonder, and we all know, look, I do think he's going to, look, we all can agree that Otani is walking. I'm sorry. If we're going to be one of those people,
You know for a fact after
and
the
seeing
season he's gone.
how this franchise has been around.
You literally drafted the hottest prospect in baseball in Otani.
Well, take out what's a draft,
You
but he was
had
one of the best international
dude,
prospects.
yeah, exactly. But you had a star.
Which we have not seen
Hell,
in over 100 years.
heck, you had 2 stars. 2 stars on your team. You can't build around them? Come on.
It's
Oh, let's just overpay for for washed up players and older guys knowing dang well we don't have the conditioning to keep them on the field, even though they're older. Like, it's just, and Jake said it best. They prefer quantity over quality. You can't work
all they
like
care
that. You
about
have to
is just
bring
putting
in. You
butts
have
in
to bring
seats.
in. You have to bring in the quality. You have to, get wins. Make the fans happy. Send the fans home happy with wins. Don't let them go, oh, this team's screwed, like mid-season, or or have a good enough season to where you're good for like 3 months into July and then bottom out in August and September like they did.
I mean, right now they're
And
74.
I was a fool, that said that they would be good this year. I was that fool, and I was mistaken. I was
I mean,
mistaken.
the
They look
Angels
like
currently, as it stands for 2023, they're 64-75, which is
yeah, they bottomed out quick. They bottomed out very quick by the break. They bottomed out like
and
after the break.
I mean,
But
and I'm looking according to Baseball Reference, their playoff odds. They're less than 0.1% to make the postseason, less than 0.1% to make the World Series. That's not
that's
saying
sad.
much.
That is sad. That is flat out sad. If you have a 0.1% chance of just making the playoffs in September, come on.
I mean, the fact
There's,
that with the Angels as well. I mean, look, you had when Mike Trout came up in 2012. The only time he made the postseason was in his second year or third year in the league. Actually,
honestly, didn't they make it in 2012?
no, they made it in 2014, and we're early first round exits with Mike Trout. By the way, at the same time. Speaking of which, let me see who that. I want to see. Take a look at that roster that they had. That was the only 2014 is when they actually finished first place in the American League West at 98-64, and then they got swept
They
by the
yeah
Kansas City Royals.
they had a pretty good team. They had a pretty good team then, that's but then right after that, those players that were on that same team started to get older and older and older. And they would not ship them out for younger talent. Start over from the ground up from the draft, like your teams like the Orioles have done, build up from
Yeah,
the draft. If they would have done that, they would have been fine. But
I mean,
let's overpay for a Rendon who hasn't seen the field in
since 2019, basically,
since who hasn't seen the field in a full season since 2019. Like it's atrocious, man. It is
it's very
atrocious.
atrocious. I mean,
And honestly, if I were Angel fans, I would start saying sell the team. I would
They
start
should have sold
selling
when
the
he
team.
had Artie Moreno should have sold when he had the opportunity. And boy,
And
that's
Moreno and dude, Moreno wanted to, and he got cold feet and backed out. You should have sold because you cannot
you should
run
have.
a team. Can't run a team. You're too
I'm
worried about you're too worried about getting overpaying for washed up players. You can't do that.
you really
Got to
can't.
build through the draft. You got if a team ain't that good, blow it up, go through the draft.
Hey, you really
But
have to.
but try to keep Otani and Trout there. Build around them through the draft.
It really is. But
And,
before we go any further,
and honestly, this is why Philly fans were clamoring for Trout to come to Philly
I mean,
to
bring
get
him
him
home.
out of that mess. Bring him home to get him out of that mess.
And now you're seeing Otani not.
Otani wants out.
Right now
He's
we
gonna
see.
walk.
He's going to be a free agent at the end of the. So pretty much, and what also.
And hold on before you get your thought in, I got one more thought. They should have traded Otani at the deadline. They should have.
I was about to say that.
They should have. I
that.
stole your thought. Dang it. Okay. Yeah, they should have traded him at the deadline, man.
But yeah, they had an opportunity to move him at the deadline, but decided to pull him off the trade market. And well, let's just look how that's turned out. Because I feel like, and look, the Angels, obviously they're wasting away the prime years of Otani, which a guy that we have not, or let's be a player that we have not seen over 100 years. Because think about it, like it's hardly ever any two-way players in this game.
Last time we saw a two-way player was Babe Ruth.
Yeah, it's back in the dead ball era, which is not the. It's sad. Well, I say it's sad.
And if you don't know what the dead ball era is when the ball stops moving, you're out.
Well, it's not whereas as now. It's like the baseballs back then just never really truly flew out of the ballpark. So basically,
they were heavier back then.
And yes, and that was more of the time in the years where cheating was more like a common occurrence. But before we go any further into today's episode of the Between the Lines, we're going to talk about our sponsors from SeatGeek. For those who need to get tickets, going to concerts and stuff like that, use our promo code Philly Sports, or if you're going through the Sports Wave, use Sports Wave to save. Use the promo code, say $20 off.
And let me tell you how this works, guys. How SeatGeek works. The green dots when you pull up the tickets and you see the arena outlook of it, like the blueprint of the arena and the seating chart. Green means good. Green means they're good prices, they're good tickets. Yellow means you could do a little bit better, but they're not bad seats. They're not bad ticket prices. Red, stop what you're doing, go to the green, because they're bad ticket prices. That's how that works.
But for those who are late night Twitch streamers, gamers, YouTubers, or just need an extra kick in the rear end, use our promo code SportsWrestle10 at checkout to save 10% off. Like I said, there's not going to be that artificial sugar crap that a lot of these other energy products have in them.
Yeah, you're not going to get. Yeah, you're not going to get like the taurine, the ginseng, none of that stuff.
Yeah,
it's all natural. It's all healthy stuff. It's all stuff that's good for you. But no, you're not going to get you're not going to get the taurine or the ginseng.
Yeah, none of that unhealthy stuff within energy drinks nowadays. But moving on, our next topic of discussion, Wander Franco. Yes, I know we don't I've made a video about this when all this is going on. Honestly, I've never seen a player, Westbrook, through as young as he is, just completely threw it down the toilet, so to speak. And those are
now we don't know if this whole thing has been fabricated or not. We don't know, but from the evidence, it looks like it's not, and that's not good for Wander.
It's
literally have a picture of you kissing a 14-year-old. Kissing a 14-year-old. while making like a caption like, "Oh, this is my girlfriend" or whatever. Like,
or whatever.
are you kidding me?
And it's not just
He's
that.
14.
Oh,
You're
trust me,
like
he's
20 something, dude.
dude. You like I said, it's even worse when you have a 16-year-old out of the Dominican Republic already coming out and with accusations against Wander in the DR. Got to the point where and it's also what also is crazy about that, minus that second accusation, because they had the Rays had was like a bobblehead promotion with Franco. They they scrubbed everything from the bobblehead even to the pictures of Rondo Franco. So it's
The thing is, though, ironically enough, the reason why they scrapped it, the bobblehead was for kids 14 and under,
yeah, it was
which that was a terrible look if the Rays continued with that. Terrible look.
well, they scrapped it and they just erased everything having to do with Wander Franco.
Yeah.
And it's oh boy, it's a rough. It's not like I said right now. Like I said, we don't know what's true and what's not at the moment. But
We're still like us as baseball fans. We're still looking for more evidence. The only thing that we know as of right now still is that Wander Franco. There's a picture that released that he kissed a 14-year-old. 14-year-old claimed that he was quote unquote her boyfriend, which that was a bad look.
even though we don't know what the translation was, what was
we don't know what the translation was because it was in Spanish, and we don't know a lot of Spanish. But it came out in the news, translated that she said that Wander Franco and her were dating.
It's
very recently, and that's a bad look for Wander.
That's a very bad look. But
and
people were asking,
and the age and here's the thing: the age of consent is 16, but still, that's still messed up.
Mm-hmm. And we right now he has 2 accusations right now going against him.
Two. Honestly, one has evidence. That's the problem. One of those accusations has evidence.
Yeah.
To back it up. Now the 16-year-old, I don't know if she had evidence. She just said, "Oh, he was messing with me too." Well, I don't know if she had evidence to back that up, but they're looking for it. They're investigating it. But with the 14-year-old, there was evidence immediately.
And it's not just that. Well, that
she had receipts. She had receipts, man.
Yeah, it's like I've never seen a player as young as Wander decide to throw his career away because of a stupid, disgusting move or whatever.
I wouldn't even call it a mistake. I'm not. Move is the right word. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, you knew. But moving on, like I said, we don't want to get read too much into details of it because if you want to read up on it, there's Google for you on that. But Cincinnati Reds, a team that currently right now is looking for a wild card spot. Even though let's put that. If you talk about another fan base that deserves a lot better, was the Cincinnati Reds, because boy, look at the last few years that that franchise has not really done them justice. But they've been better as of recently, but I still can't buy into it just yet. I mean, look, I like Hunter Green. That's all. Joey Votto has been Mr. Red pretty much for most of his career. And it's just like really looking at David Bell. Look, as a player, was okay with us back in 2003. Yes, I'm kind of the upward. Yes, I'm dating myself here.
You're dating me too. I was born in 98. You were born only a year before me. You're dating me too, man.
Yes,
come on, bro.
We had David Bell. Yeah, player was an okay player, but as a manager, absolute hot garbage. But I will say, this version of the Cincinnati Reds has been better. I will have to say, but
can we talk? Speaking of Reds, can we talk about De La Cruz for a second?
Shoot,
Can we talk about that, man?
No, just look at the farm system that they have down in Cincinnati.
That farm system is stacked. But De La Cruz, though, coming up from AAA this year,
I mean, he's done
the way he played. Come on, man. That rookie of the year candidate for sure.
Mm,
I
the
see
rookie
it.
of the
The guy
he
was batting over 300, and he's got like what? Countless stolen bases.
I mean, right now the stolen base leader is pretty much Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, that
but
man's like this man stole first. He stole second, third, and home all in one play. Tell me how that is possible.
it's it's not just that, but when you look at the rookie of the year kind of thing, it's gonna look. LDL Cruz, one can make argument he could be rookie of the year, but also another candidate people are not really talking about could be rookie of the year. Corbin Carroll, who's been another guy that's in the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
I mean, Corbin
And who
Carroll
would have
right now.
thought? And who would have thought though? Right? Like we said, I think when the whatchamacallit, when the Arizona Diamondbacks started to bottom out and they had a losing record, we were thinking, oh, their season's done. They're in the wild card chase. They're back up. They were up and down. Now they're back up.
Yeah, because before they. But
What you looking up, bro?
So in terms, like I said, with the stolen, because I really like because with the MLB, like I said, I talked about the MLB with the bigger bases. Well, because for me, I think I love the stolen base as the next person because I mean, that's been like a loss for the last, I would say 10 years, 10, 15 years, give or take.
Yeah, the only guy that was really stealing bases was Billy Hamilton, and he could barely even get on base as is.
And talk about how to a quick fizzle out that Billy Hamilton. It's not just that too, but even though you had guys, it's not just that. I mean, Billy Hamilton also can avoid tags better than along with Josh Harrison, prime Josh Harrison, that is. But right now, we all know that right now the current stolen base leader is Ronald Acuna Jr. He has 63. He stole 63 bags, but he's been caught 11 times. And right now, the strikeout leader for that, that is currently is Matt Olson. Nope, sorry, I'm wrong. That's Kyle Schwarber. My bad. I read that wrong.
Come on, bro. You're talking about a guy who only hits bombs on occasion and strikes out like 90% of the time.
Yeah, 176. But I mean, we have guys. I mean, right now, Corbin Carroll, he's right now second in Major League Baseball with 41, and he's been caught 5 times. So he's another guy. And the high. Man, Freddie Freeman. It's also crazy. I talked about Freddie Freeman a little bit, but I won't talk more on that. It's the fact that this season, still. I think he's much having a better season than he did in his last year with Atlanta. Slashing 335, 410, 574 with a 984 OPS.
I think part of that is that he's more comfortable in LA because that's his home.
Yeah, I mean, he's
so. I feel like it's a comfortability thing for him because he's home. That's his home team. That's the team he was rooting for as a kid. He wanted to play for the team most likely as a kid. So it's like it's a comfort thing for him. He loved Atlanta. He loved to play for Atlanta, but him in LA, it's just he's comfortable.
I mean, with Ellie De La Cruz, so far in his so far since coming up, put up a point, almost a 1 WAR with 11 homers, a 246 average, 36 RBIs, 25 stolen bases, 306 on base.
Then again, I don't know if he will win Rookie of the Year.
I think he's really cooled down
because he started to go down. Because last time I checked, he was batting like 3-0 something.
Yeah, it's
and bear with me, guys. I just got MLB TV back, so I can watch more games and be more,
But and
informed with this stuff. But
you are right. He's kind of cooled down, from that
hot start.
Yeah. But I think like I said, I think Corbin Carroll is definitely going to get the rookie
Corbin
of the year.
Carroll.
But I don't think it's going to be by a landslide. I think De La Cruz is definitely going to get a ton of votes. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. Who I can think of that's actually better rookie of the year candidates. But
yeah, it'll be down to Corbin Carroll and De La Cruz for sure.
I think Corbin Carroll is going to get. I mean, he's put up. I mean, right now he's
I
slashing.
think he'll edge him by a few votes. That's how
That's
I
what I'm
think.
saying. Like, it's not going to be like I said, it's not going to be a landslide because Corbin Carroll
Yeah.
this year, still is slashing a 280 batting average, 360 on base, 523 slugging with an 883 OPS for 2023 with 41 stolen bases. No, yes, the downside of Corbin Carroll a little bit. He is a bit of a strikeout machine. He's at 105 strikeouts to 52 walks. Right now, looking at the rest.
That's today's game, Rob. Unfortunately, you either strike out or hit a bomb.
Yeah, well, unless you're not, because right now Juan Soto's pretty much dead even, basically. 115 strikeouts, 215 walks. It's pretty much he's the MLB. It's also funny too. The person who is second, that is Kyle Schwarber. He is second in the National League in walks. That's yeah.
I mean, it's not. We're not faulting him for trying, but there's been some cases where he doesn't try. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like 1, 2, 3, you're out.
I mean, it's crazy too. Yes, throughout 162 games, we don't really see guys play a full 162. They at least get close.
Right.
Because right now, the most games played is Juan Soto. He's right now in terms of the National League, he's at 140 games played. But regardless, though, go back to the Reds, though. Yes, I mean they had guys that were hot for a while. Like I said, Ellie De La Cruz was hot during that winning streak, and just after when that winning streak came to a close, boom, he went ice cold.
Yeah.
But speaking with the Reds as well, they are called the number 4 ranked prospect, Connor Phillips, which also was part of that time. I think it would have been the Jesse Winker trade to Seattle, if I remember correct. No, that was the Tyler Mahle trade, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So they're getting another top 5 ranked prospect going up to the major leagues for the Cincinnati Reds, and it's been like I said, I don't really watch the minor leagues as much, but from my understanding, it's like the Reds, they got a really good farm system down. Like I said, I mean, you got some teams that have deep farm systems. Cincinnati's definitely one of them. Pittsburgh, I think their farm system has some solid names, but it kind of worries me a little bit. And for those who are wondering, yeah, I mean, a guy like Anthony Solometo, who I've watched, another South Jersey kid. I'm kind of worried when he ever gets that call to the big leagues. When he gets there, it's like, I'm going to feel like the Pirates are going to ruin him. And that concerns me. But besides the point, Pete Alonso actually made some history as well a couple of days ago. Had his third 40 home run season, but he's also joined with the likes of Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and our boy Ryan Howard as well. So he's joined that list after breaking the 40 homer mark. It's
gotta remember though. I think Howard had like 56.
Yeah,
he had 56 in like 06. He had 56 though.
Yeah, that was his rookie year. Boy,
his rookie year. He pops out 56 in 2006. We're like, what? But yeah, he's gonna have to. He's got a bigger number to get to if he wants to break Ryan Howard's home run record.
But Pete Alonso, honestly, decent, really solid player. But at times, and there was a few times where during the trade deadline, his name got thrown around to become like a trade piece. I was like, eesh. I was trying to say, look, it's already bad enough for the Mets to trade away both Scherzer and Verlander, but the fact he had a potential to an idea of trading away Pete Alonso, I was like, yeah, I don't know what the Mets were thinking. And look, Scherzer kind of stinks with the Texas Rangers. Right now, the Rangers are 16-18 since trading for Scherzer, and it's not great. But in terms of looking at the rest, I mean, look, New York baseball has been how do I put this? Horrible. I want to see more, but I
Both squads, man. They're
last place.
not just that. You have the Mets who, overspent for older players that just didn't pan out. And then now you have the Yankees who he just got bitten by the injury bug.
It's not just the injury bug, but you also got guys in, and look, you brought back Judge, which was great, but then again, he, for his size, could be a bit of an injury prone. Look, Rizzo has not been the same, but and also mismanaged.
Also the problem there's their conditioning. But the Rizzo hasn't been the same because he was dealing with that concussion that they
And
did
they
not
did not
go
address right away.
get addressed. It took him 2 months to address it. Like before his concussion, he was playing lights out, raking.
Yeah,
He,
it's just like
he was
ever since
playing
he had,
good at first. Ever since that,
like,
concussion back in what, April or May,
and it just has not been the same.
he has not been the same. No.
That's just like, because we originally, when we thought, like, what the heck is going on with Rizzo? Then 2 months later, we find out a report that, they were he had symptoms of a concussion. It's like, I literally facepalm when I read that. It's like, how dumb do you have to be to be a franchise not to address, to not really talking about not addressing a concussion, or at least get right on it.
Seriously. And we're not talking about his level of play post concussion. Look at the Tua Tagovailoa incident in the NFL. You kept playing this man with a concussion.
And they were mismanaging
There is something called. I forgot what's called. That if you play a sport with concussion and you take contact to the head, you could very well pass away on the field.
And yes, Rizzo's not getting any younger, so that's plays a fact. And yeah, and it's not just that too, Tyler. When you look at some of these Yankees roster, you have a couple guys that are very injury prone. Giancarlo Stanton, like, when was the last time he had a full healthy season? It feels like it's been a long time since he's ever had a full healthy season.
Honestly, I think his first time with the Yankees, his first season with the Yankees was the last time he was healthy.
It's crazy when you really look at the rest of the league. You have guys, yes, getting the age, but hasn't really had a full healthy season, it's another thing I want to have a discussion with. But really look at the rest of the Yankees, though. I mean, look, I like Anthony Volpe. I think he's had a decent rookie year, but not the greatest by any stretch of the means. And yes, I mean, I know there was a little bit of pressure on him to, because let's be real, you haven't really had a rookie shortstop like that, make a quick impact at the big league level.
Yeah.
Since Derek Jeter. And yes, exactly. I will say Derek Jeter defensively was complete garbage. I'm sorry. Look, when you look at his numbers, dude was.
I don't know if I agree with that, man. I don't know if I agree with that. I think he was really good defensively at shortstop. He was very good there. And the numbers, they don't back it up, but he was actually pretty good. So I don't really.
Yeah, he had no problems with
that. But here's the thing: I don't look at defensive numbers. They don't mean nothing to me. Like the whole defensive run save and all that other stuff. I don't pay attention to that stuff. The advanced stats when it comes to defense. Now I pay attention to OPS and all the other stuff. Because those are offensive stats. That's something you can deal with. But the whole defensive stats thing, I don't really get into that stuff. But also, there's another reason why the Yankees have not been great this year. It's the fact that you have an average roster plus 30 in age.
Yeah, some of them on the wrong side of 30.
Most of them are on the wrong side of 30. Most of them. And that's an issue. You should have gotten younger when you had the chance to go younger. When you were in that little mini rebuild where you didn't make the playoffs for 1 year. You should have blew it up. You should have went younger.
Yeah. And we'll get to it because I think for those who are base fans, you're going to like this last segment because it makes you wonder, like, which we'll get to in just a moment. But when you look at the rest of this Yankees roster that they have, look, I like Oswald Peraza. I think he's a really nice piece. You finally call up Jason Dominguez after God knows how long you've been keeping him down to the minor leagues. You finally released Josh Donaldson, who's been, well, that's real, has not been the same since 2015. Look, he has not been, like, I will say, Josh Donaldson has not been what he once was since leaving Toronto. I'm sorry, I hate to say that. The dude won an MVP.
Honestly, I'd hate to say it too, but here's the thing: if you physically paid attention to Josh Donaldson since 2015, and you have eyes, if you have eyes and you see Josh Donaldson play, you see what Rob's talking about.
Look, 2015 dude had a great bat and a good glove. Now, not so much anymore.
Yeah, he's lost it. He's lost it, and that's why he's not on the Yankees anymore. That's why he's gone. That's why he was let go.
What's going on, Keith? I appreciate you tuning in towards the end of this show. But yeah, I mean,
it's all right, Keith. We know you were working. It's all right. No big deal.
But really looking at the rest of this Yankees roster, I mean, look at the starting rotation. You have Domingo Germán, who's dealt with some DV crap.
Oh, Chad, I'm sorry for your loss, man. Sorry for your loss, brother.
Absolutely. But with Domingo Germán, dealt with multiple DV cases. Carlos Rodon can't stay healthy.
But back up for a minute. But I'm going to talk about Domingo Germán for a minute.
Germán,
whatever. I whatever.
I got you.
Okay. I'm learning names. All right, people. But yeah. God, the guy's a moron. Not only do you have multiple DV cases, you showed up to the clubhouse drunk.
Yeah, I completely forgot about. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I think he messed up a TV or something, and
he went on. Yeah, it was bad.
The coach saw him and said, "Yo, go take a shower in one of the showers and go home." And then they suspended him right after that. And how he showed up to the Yankee Stadium drunk. That yeah. He deserved to get suspended. Not only because of the domestic violence cases, but because you show up to your job drunk.
Yeah, it was bad. And you also have rest of your starting rotation couldn't stay healthy, and guys like I mean, right now the only solid guy that's been Mr. Workhorse was Garrett Cole. I'm sorry to say,
Garrett Cole was solid. He's solid.
He's the best one of the guys out of that rotation. That's concerning. Frankie, you traded from Frankie Montas. He's hurt. Carlos Rodon hurt for most of the year.
Pedro, like I was saying, they got. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying, man. They got hit hard by the injury bug because all these players are over 30.
Yep. I mean, you have Judge, who I would say hasn't really dealt with a lot of injuries. He's been pretty much healthy since he came into the league. Yeah, I mean, that toe injury.
I feel like his injury will just,
it was just a freak one.
Equate to just being a freak accident because he slipped and he fell through the wall and injured his foot. Like anybody could get hurt doing that.
But when you have guys like Rizzo, and me and Tony even said this in the last episode we did. It seems like if you look at that 2016 that Cubs team after they won the World Series in 2016, but when they moved on from Rizzo, Bryant, who has he's been very disappointing. Baez is still swings and misses at pitches that's nowhere near. And Rizzo, it's just it stinks, man. I still like Rizzo. It's just unfortunately I don't know. But while we're done talking about the Yankees, but for the updated playoff picture, so the teams we have seen teams already been eliminated from playoff contention. One is the Kansas City Royals. They're 44-96. Boy, after they won the World Series in 2015, they have not been good since then. Which is
They bottomed out. I think, after they won the World Series, they were starting to slide a bit. They were still making the playoffs, 2016, 17, whatever. Started making the playoffs, but right after a while, they bottomed out. Now they're only winning 44 games this year so far.
Yeah.
It's just been an issue. It's just been an issue, and they're holding on to players like
Perez. That's it.
Salvador is still there, and he hasn't been that great because he's older. Like it's just been,
it's been rough.
Yeah, they need to blow it up, start over. They have to. And they got no choice in this juncture, man. Like they don't have a quality team anymore.
We all know the obvious in the AL West is the Oakland A's. They're 42-97, which is the most obvious. But
yeah, I feel like they're just tanking to get out of Oakland, and they're going to continue to do so until 2027.
Yep. National League East. The Mets and the Washington Nationals are the two NL East teams are eliminated from playoff contention.
Well, we all know the Nationals will be the Nationals, and they weren't going to be good. But the shocking thing would have to be the Mets, because the Mets going in, they had
very high expectations.
Very high expectations of making the playoffs. They were looked at as the team to overtake the Braves. And getting. And I was thinking that too, like, oh, they got Verlander, oh, they got Scherzer, they're going to be really, really, really good.
Nope.
And nope. Every single person.
Verlander was hurt for most of the year.
They were, dude. Verlander was hurt when he came back. He had like a 5. Dude had like a 5 ERA for like the longest time. I don't even know if he's doing that great in Houston. To be honest, I'm not.
I saw that acronym for the Mets. My entire team sucks.
Yes, that's exactly that's how the acronym should go. But back to what I was saying though, I don't know if Verlander is that great. Honestly, after the trade, I haven't really paid attention to him or to the team, for that matter. But Verlander was bad. Scherzer was bad. They were butting heads for some reason.
Currently, as it stands, he's 10-7 with a 3.34 ERA since he's went back to Houston.
So really, that tells me he did not want to go to New York. He didn't want to go there. It's very obvious. He did not want to go to New York. Or the pitching coach might have wanted him to change his mechanics, and then he tried to do this new change of a mechanics thing, and he sucked. I don't know. For me, I think it's just he didn't want to go to New York. And it got worse when he started beefing with Scherzer.
Which, funny enough, with Scherzer, he gets traded to the Texas Rangers, and the Rangers have not been good since coming out in the second half. They were 16-18 after when they traded for Scherzer, and well, let's be real. Look, I appreciate what the Rangers are doing, but man, that entire rotation, that rotation needs to get younger. You got a guy in not Verlander, but Scherzer has. How much does he have left is the biggest question. Andrew Heaney hasn't really been good. Evaldi, slight injury prone.
The last game I saw Andrew Heaney play, he could barely go 4 innings.
Yeah, and even when you look at his time with the Dodgers, he always somehow gets lit up. And that's the thing. And you also have Evaldi, who is good when healthy. And yes, that's the key word, when healthy. The dude, then again, he's been mostly healthy for the entire year. So I won't just call him, I'll say he's slight injury prone because he did miss some time the last 3 to 4 weeks, give or take. But you also have DeGrom, who, another guy, has not had a healthy season since 2019, which, yeah, so the way I look at it is when we talked about the Rangers bringing in DeGrom, say, okay, so maybe give him a fresh start. but then again, I think Texas should have knew the risk they were getting into with a guy like Verlander, or not Verlander, but DeGrom. And you could see it. Like, the dude cannot stay healthy. And at some point, I would not be shocked if he had a sudden retirement if he gets hurt again. I mean, he's already gone through two Tommy Johns in his entire career for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's concerning. I would say for DeGrom's career. It sucks to say because the dude is, when he's healthy, and yes, Team Tire know this. He was a pain in the rear end when we had to face him when he was at his healthiest, when he was with the Mets. Dude is nasty.
when he had that, even when he had that opening day start against us, he's a pain. He's still a good pitcher. The problem is he ain't staying on the field.
It really does. It sucks to say because the dude went in college, was a shortstop, got transitions to a pitcher, and well, boy, that didn't work out. But unfortunately, you've seen some of the I would say the side effects of it. Like I said, dealt with two Tommy Johns, had back problems. Like, the dude just had a whole kitchen sink of injuries get hit at him. Most of the time, the arm and look, yes, I will say yes. If you're a player with dealing with back injuries, yeah, that's a hard thing to cover. Yeah, back injuries can screw you up. I mean, we've seen it at times look at Mike Trout. Dude was severely plagued with back injuries, and he's on the wrong side of 30, which is sad to say, but that's besides the point. But last and final segment, we got a little game called I'm going to say not a game, but a bit of a ranking. It's called Managerial Hot Seat. So for those who are asking, what's Managerial Hot Seat? Let me tell you. So we're going to go through all 30 managers here in Major League Baseball. 32 or number 30 will be ice cold for now until otherwise. But from going up to one, which is scalding hot. So to kick it off, number 30, I have Rob Thompson for now unless something goes south. But that's besides the point. But he's safe for now. I think that's kind of obvious. I mean, you see this team where I know he's just laid back, kind of doesn't really set well with me a little bit, but it really does bring up a different vibe. Because if you have not watched any of the Phillies games the last few years, we had guys or managers that just never let these guys be themselves. And that was the biggest problem. And that's where I have Rob. Philly Rob, no matter what your nickname for him is.
The problem that I have with the other coaches like a Girardi or a Kapler is just they were just too hard nosed, way too hard nosed.
And yeah, Kapler mostly for the analytical side of things, and boy, that's
but he was still kind of hard nosed.
Yep.
But Girardi, he was really hard nosed. He wouldn't even talk to the players after losses.
And it took Nick Castellanos to call his rear end out.
Called him out on national, or actually called him out to the media. Like, dude, he will not talk to us.
Yeah,
and then I feel like the next day he got fired. This was in June. He got fired.
Yeah. Funny enough, the funny story was because he was at a Wobble getting some food. It's like that was the funny part. They fired him.
Back on track here.
Number 29, I got Scott Service from the Seattle Mariners. Now, I know Scott Service early in the first half was a little bit disappointing. Don't get me wrong. But boy, they have really turned around here in the second half. And I think he's done, even since he took the managerial spot for the Seattle Mariners, he has done some really good things. First of all, took a team that has not made the postseason in over 2 goddamn decades. Think about that.
Yeah, this team prior to last year did not make the playoffs since 2001.
Think about that.
And he took them right to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yes, they were a wild card team. Yes, they weren't making any moves. They weren't making it. They weren't making any not division winner, and they weren't making any splashes in the playoffs.
I think they lost in the division series. Yeah, that's right. They lost in the division series.
they won the wild card. They
They
went to the
swept the
division
Toronto Blue
series.
Jays.
Yeah, they swept at Toronto because they're Toronto, but they went to the division series. They lost in the division series to the Astros, and it was just like, all right, this is good. This is good. This is a good start for him. And now they're hot again.
Yeah.
Honestly, that manager deserves that 29 spot.
Number 28, I got Brian Snicker. Now, yes, I'm look with the rivalry side with Atlanta, but Brian Snicker has done, let's be, I will say, some fantastic work since coming to Atlanta. For those who don't know
Yeah.
who Brian Snicker is, he was mostly a minor league manager in their like AA and AAA farm system. Comes up to the majors as one of the, because right now, because if you looked at the last few managers, major league managers, Braves had, Freddie Gonzalez, not the greatest. Let's be honest, the dude was just didn't have it. But Brian Snicker, there's something about him that I've really liked with him. It's like he's really likes what he has done with Atlanta. No, a consistent 100 game winner, consistent NL East winner. Because right now the NL East runs through Atlanta. And I will flat out admit that. Look, I will say he's my candidate for manager of the year for the National League. Don't care what other candidates you have. I think Brian Snicker's the kind of guy. You know, look, he can be hard nosed, but the players buy into that. Look at Ronald Acuna Jr. Yes, he dealt with an injury last year, but is putting up an MVP type of season. Matt Olson has a fantastic season. They done better without Dansby Swanson, yes, even though it's kind of weird to say. Sean Murphy has looked like he stepped it up since leaving Oakland. I mean, you got guys that you may not think it's like, oh, I mean, look, Sean Murphy was good and was okay in Oakland, but once he came to Atlanta, like he took it above the next level. And same with Travis Darno. You got it. And yes, for those who, a little fun fact, that's one of our former prospects we gave up for Roy Halladay to Toronto. Leave it at that. That's another fun fact. But yeah, I have Brian Stinker at 28 because I think he's going to be there for a long time to come. You know, I mean, look at what the Atlanta has done the last 3 to 4 years, give or taking that time frame. I mean, with the World Series, and let's be real. And I will flat out admit, I was kind of happy for Atlanta to finally break their drought a World Series drought because they have not won since 1995, which was actually impressive. But number 27, I got a good old Dusty Baker. Honestly, at the end of the day, when you look at Dusty Baker as a whole, what he has done with Houston, yes, minus that slow start and all the crap that he had to do to get back to become what they are as playoff contenders and World Series contenders. But Dusty Baker the dude's been around, we can say the dude's been around the block for years. Yes, he's been on teams that, were hot garbage, to say the least. But yeah, finally gets over the hump and actually wins a World Series as a manager. And at the end of the day, the dude's going to be a Hall of Fame manager, no matter how you look at it, what he has done with Houston.
To be honest, though, it's dumb that it was against us last year. But at the same time, after the Game 6, I was happy for Dusty. I was happy. I was he finally did it. He finally got over the hump.
Because, I mean, if you looked at his managerial career for years, man, it's kind of a shame for to have a Hall of Fame potential manager not win a World Series. And yeah, like Tyler said, and yes, it's unfortunate it's against us, but in the end, we were happy for Dusty to see him to finally get one after it's been years, actually. You know, it's kind of crazy when you look at it. But number 26, I got Brandon Hyde of the Baltimore Orioles. Now, I know it's a bit of an odd choice, but my reasoning for this, because Brandon Hyde, yes, it took him a while to get this Baltimore Orioles team going as a manager, but the last few years, you can see the slow progression of how good Baltimore can be. You know, has a manager of the year in the American League under his belt. Who's to say he can't repeat it as the AL manager of the year? Because right now, we look at the managers in the American League, it's it's not a great list to say the least. But Brandon Hyde, I think he's done some wonders. I would say, with Baltimore. But yeah, that's what I got on with so Brandon Hyde. I think his job is safe. Tyler, thoughts on Brandon Hyde?
He's a phenomenal manager. I have no complaints about him. He's really, really good.
25. I know, like I said, this is another odd choice, but I got Torey Lovello of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, hear me out. I don't think he's a bad manager, or people are paying him out to be. Has he made some stupid decisions? Yeah, sure. What manager hasn't? But the Diamondbacks, since he became the manager, was at least an above 500 team. Well, minus if you last, minus his first year. But the last couple of years, I mean, they've been a very solid team that's plays above 500 ball. But a lot of times, sometimes it doesn't really work out. So I think currently for right now, his job is safe. But unless crap goes sideways, I will not be surprised if the Diamondbacks went a different direction. But from right now, I had Torey Lovello at 25. But 24, I got Dave Roberts. As much as I know a lot of Dodgers fans hate him for whatever reason, but the dude has brought you a World Series. Yes, I know a lot of, most baseball fans don't want to count the 2020, but it's still a World Series nonetheless. But Dave Roberts has been, like, let's be real. In terms of looked at besides outside of Tom Lasorda, in terms of the franchise's best managers, Dave Roberts is that kind of guy. Yes, was an okay player during his day, but the dude has put up multiple division titles, a World Series title back in 2020. I mean, the resume speaks for itself. I mean, the dude has put it all together.
Yeah.
But I got Terry Francona at number 20. Where was that? Where were we at? 24? 23. I got Terry Francona. I wouldn't, like I said, Terry Francona, like I said, the dude, he's another guy that's seen it and done it all, has a World Series under his belt. I think it was in 2007, I think it was, give or take. But regardless.
I think it was 2007 with the Red Sox.
But, and Terry Francona has done some good, has been a good manager for his entire managerial career. Now, yes, he had some. Yeah, I mean, look, Cleveland hasn't really been the best, but look at the roster he's been dealt with as a manager. Besides, outside of Jose Ramirez, that's pretty much about it, and that's concern. Look, I don't think Terry Francona is the kind of guy that deserves. Well, I would say not. You will paint as a bad manager, but I think he's got bad hands. I say in recent years. And yes, I mean, outside of 2016 is probably the best team he's ever had, I would say, in terms of during his time in Cleveland. But that's pretty much about it. But I have
and listen. I know the season for Cleveland has not been great. I know it hasn't. But in years past, this guy has gotten them to the playoffs consistently. One bad year isn't going to kill him. Like, they need to fire him. Like, we're not gonna, if he has multiple bad seasons under his belt, then they would have to look for another guy. But
yeah.
Again, Rob said it best. Look at the cards he's been dealt this year. Not great.
Yeah, and Cleveland hasn't really done much after 2016. I mean, if you think about it, had an opportunity to finally break their World Series drought, but decided to. And yes, one can make the argument that Terry Francona made some questionable decisions, of course, to cause really, blew a 3-1 lead in the World Series. But besides I would say number 22 or number 23, or say 22. I'm sorry, Alex Cora. Now, I don't think. Look, yes, I know you're asking me why do you have Alex Cora with Terry Francona. Look, I don't think Alex Cora is a bad manager by any stretch of the means. He's kind of the same boat, I would say, as Terry Francona in a way. Look at the rosters the last. I think he joined in 2018. When he joined in 2018, had a good roster. 2019 was okay.
Honestly, 2018, he didn't just have a good roster. He had a tremendous roster because that year they had won the World Series, 2018. So, but the problem is, again, look at the cards he's been dealt with. You had Verdugo take a bit of a slide a little bit, in recent
Yeah.
years. He's come back around, but he took a little bit of slide. You have a lot of these guys who took some slides, and it's just not been that great. But
And honestly,
again, the
I think
guy even despite them not even being they're probably not even going to step to playoffs this year. They have a winning record,
exactly like it's
and that's because of Alex Cora and his coaching. He's
and he
that
knows
good.
better than anybody. He's another guy that played with as a former player. I think he did have a bit of a stop in Boston as well as a player, but I can't remember.
Yeah, Jose, I have to agree there. Francona's gone through health issues, so
Yeah,
I think it's best
you
for him
can.
to retire too. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's gonna be.
think the reason why his manager skills, shall I say, haven't been that great because he has a lot of weighing on his mind
And
about the
plus, I mean,
health issues.
oh yeah, I mean he's stepped away, a little bit. I mean, yeah, I mean he's not. I mean, look, he's not getting any younger, but number 21, I got Kevin Cash. Look, like I said, I don't think Kevin Cash is a bad manager any stretch of the means, but a lot of times, because we're getting to the territory, the hot seat, it's get lukewarm. From 20 on up, I say from 15 to 20 is your lukewarm area. But number 20, like I said, we're getting to lukewarm territory, is Kevin Cash. Now, here's the thing. Yes, the Braves are going to be a consistent playoff contender through the wild card, but at some point, there's been nothing but failure, the last few years under Kevin Cash. I mean, and we know by failure, I mean, it's not getting past or getting to the division or the division series. Look at last year, completely choked in the wild card to the Cleveland Guardians, who was a surprise team in a weak AL Central, and had a second World Series appearance. That would have been what 2020.
I forgot.
I completely forgot. No, I'm sorry, that was in 2020.
It was 20. Oh, okay, yeah, it was 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, it was against the Dodgers, and Kevin Cash. I think one commander, he has made some questionable decisions, I would say, throughout his time as a manager. I mean, look, pulling Blake Snell when he was actually dealing in the World Series, which that was.
Yeah, why would you take him out? Why on earth would you take him out in that situation?
It's getting to the point where it's like, I do think his seat is going to get a little hot.
It's starting to heat up a bit. We're getting years into your tenure, and you haven't done anything since.
You haven't really got.
Yes, you've consistently made this team get to the playoffs. Yes, you're good enough to get to the playoffs, but you haven't done anything since 2020. And even when 2020 happened, Rob said it best: you made a bad managerial decision,
and it cost a deal,
taking out Snell, and they've lost that series after that.
And and I know race fans are probably, I know it's probably going to be some race fans probably could be are starting to kind of get fed up with it because, look, I like what they have down in Tampa Bay, even though they should not play St. Petersburg, but that's my only nitpick, but that's besides the point. But it's the fact that you have you got a good farm system as well, but somehow it does not really translate into success in terms of getting back to the World Series, which, yes, now you're playing in a tough AL East. I mean, one can make the argument, you're playing against three other better teams, or technically two. And Toronto's still good, don't get me wrong, and same with Baltimore. But you also play against a team. Teams are somewhat mediocre. You got a mediocre Yankees team, and I wouldn't say like a mid Boston team. I can't call it mediocre just yet, but they still because they have a winning record.
Yeah, they're kind of mid, but they're not really bad. But yeah,
going continue with the lukewarm category. I got Buck Showalter as the next guy on that list because for a team, how do I even explain this?
Flaming dumpster fire. That's how you explain it. Because they're talking about the Mets here. Flaming dumpster fire.
Yeah, but Buck, boy, that target. No, yes, I think this is the first time they actually had a one bad year under Buck. But knowing the impatience of Mets, some other like really, Mets fans that. Okay.
Hey man, we're not talking that bad, man. We're not talking that, man. We
Unless
said
you're a
your
hot
team is still
garbage.
good, and we gave your coach, we gave your manager some praise, man.
I mean,
It's not
because
all
right now
bad,
his
bro.
job
It's
is
not all
saving. Well, shout out to Bobby coming through for all things Boston. But yeah, but Buck, I think he's another guy I could see. Like I said, it's lukewarm, but don't be surprised. I say if you have another bad year next year, hypothetically speaking, that his seat is going to get hotter. It's
Yeah, I
it,
mean, come on. If you haven't done, I mean, yes, he had a good season last year. They won over 100 games,
and
this year, this is all on the general manager because you overspent for washed-up players in Scherzer and Verlander, which costed that.
mm-hmm.
But obviously, the mess ups, the guys can't catch fly balls worth the dang. They can't hit worth the dang. That's a coaching issue. That is absolutely a coaching issue. So Buck Showalter, man, his seats
It's getting hot.
heating up there. It's getting hot.
But
It's
it's
getting
not
hot.
scalding hot, because
Nope, but it's getting there.
we have some guys that are in the scalding hot category, which we'll get to in just a moment. But continue with the lukewarm.
Yo, Bobby, I can't wait for that, man.
But
NFL tomorrow.
so this
But
is basically a border lukewarm to scalding. David Martinez from the Washington Nationals.
oh dear,
And
yeah.
he's more of the obviously he's more of a border because it's not because he's bad, but it's just
Look at what he's dealt.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look, the franchise traded away Juan Soto for Ellsbury got a nice King's ransom back, and you got some nice a nice return. Look, Mackenzie Gore has been, I would say, a little bit disappointing in terms of when Patrick Corbin has been freaking horrible for whatever reason.
Oh, what happened to him? I remember when he was like red hot in 2019.
Yeah, and completely crapped the bed. And look, CJ Abrams is a very nice young piece, so I think there's room to look. I think I see some improvement with the Washington Nationals. Do I see it's I can see where Mike Bristol's coming from. Plus the fact they gave both extensions. And look, David Martinez, yeah, has he made some dumb decisions? Yeah, sure. But like Tyler said, like we said, look at the cards he's been dealt with. Guys like CJ Abrams, they got a young team. Kyber Ruiz, who is okay, but not the greatest behind the plate. The rotation's been okay. There's just a lot of question marks, I would say, with the Washington Nationals. Now, do I see an improvement going into next year? Absolutely. I do think there's some improvements to build off of, but I do think the Washington Nationals have to understand to really cut your losses with some guys. I mean, Patrick Corbin, we're looking at you, but that's besides the point. Another lukewarm, John Schneider, Toronto Blue Jays. If you're going to be a Blue Jays fan, I'm sorry, but I have John Schneider on this list because
I don't know about him, man. I don't know.
Recent stretch has been very. He's got a look at the he's got a very solid roster, and somehow
you got Vladdy Jr. You got these other Bo Bichette. You have a solid roster, but you're not. You have a solid roster, but you're not doing nothing with
it. Exactly, and the fact that you also had you're getting some verbal arguments with your own players, which is also concerning to say the least, and which that doesn't set well. And yeah, it's not looking good for the Toronto. And yes, Toronto, they're always going to be in the thick of things in terms of the playoff race, but I no matter how good the roster can be, it's how John Schneider wants to execute it.
Yes,
it's the way But I think
Yeah.
But do I think he's scalding hot? Not
Mm-mm.
yet.
No.
But if he continues, let's see if he has two. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. They got above 500 record,
Dude, Jose, I want that too, but
even though it's not. I don't. I think he got the.
it ain't
I think
gonna happen.
Toronto extended him. I think he
It ain't
did.
gonna happen. But anyway, back to our point.
Uh, Craig Counsell, Milwaukee Brewers is on my lukewarm
Oh,
because
yeah.
look, Craig Counsell as a former player was not great, but he was okay. But as a manager, let's be one of the longest tenured in Milwaukee with the Brewers. But at
It's the
times,
same thing. It's the same thing with his managers. His managerial role. He's not great, but he's okay.
and can make the playoffs with them, but just never seems
Yep.
to go far with them. And a lot of
Yep.
times,
Exactly.
it makes you wonder. Is it really time to move on from Craig Counsell? Because the fact, yeah, right now they're leading the NL Central, who is not the greatest division by any stretch of the means. And if somehow and look, you had the Brewers collapse last year, had an opportunity to snag a third wild card spot, but somehow collapsed. Yeah, comeback this year was it's a little bit slow. Started very slow. Yeah, dealt with some injuries as well along the way, but at some time. But the roster's been okay, but it's just is Crank Council the guy to really lead this Brewers team to the promised land? That's the biggest question. That's the $1 million question. Right now, I don't know. I got David Ross along as well in lukewarm because there are times I've seen where just things that, I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe David Ross because I think he knows the organization better than anybody. But I do think he's safe for now. Let's be real. If everything goes wrong, but that's all I got to say on David Ross because, like I said, I don't know really much of what David Ross can do with this Cubs team. But keep going on.
If they make the playoffs, I would move him down. Honestly,
Yeah,
they make the playoffs this year. Right now,
it's up in the air right now.
It's up in the air. That's the point.
Another manager, obviously, most of this is going to be more on the scalding side of things. Now we're getting to the scalding territory. David Bell for the Cincinnati Reds. Obviously, I don't think he hasn't really done much to help get this team. Yes, I mean, he had a bit of a winning streak going, but just not to the point where they have not shown to be a playoff contender or wild card contender for that matter. But David Bell just has not really look. Even though they have a good roster, but just not to the chagrin of a lot of Reds fans, and I know a lot of Reds fans don't want him gone. And one can make the argument, yeah, I mean his style it doesn't really work. I mean, you got guys with Ali De La Cruz, and you got Joey Votto, who's been playing some better baseball as of recently. I mean, David Bell, something's got to give with the Cincinnati Reds. Number 12, I got Matt Quatraro from the Kansas City Royals because I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to last one more year with the Royals before they make another coaching change. Because it just seems like after Ned Yost retired, they could not get the managerial search right. It's always that one. It's that one guy for whatever reason. Like Ned Yost was pretty much all what Kansas City people, the Royals fans base loved it. Now, yes, obviously retired because really couldn't do it much more longer. Had Mike Matheny, boy, that was a mistake waiting to happen, and Matt Quatraro, not much better either. So it's I say if they give him another year, I'd be surprised. But for me, I think he's I don't it's that's yeah.
Kind of a messy situation over in KC, bro.
Yeah, it's very messy. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
Skip Schumacher for me is next on the list from the Miami Marlins because if the Marlins don't, he's more of the lukewarm side of things.
Lukewarm. He's more lukewarm to cold. I really don't think Skip Schumacher. Yeah, I don't think he's that bad. This team wasn't expected to win as many games as they did, and they did.
Yeah, overachieved.
They
But
overachieved, and that's due to coaching. So I really don't think he should be in the scolding hot territory.
yeah, he's more. Yeah, so I'll definitely move him back down to lukewarm to frozen cold. But yeah, like Skip Schumacher, it's like I think they have done less real, But then again, I want to see more from if Skip can replicate what he did this year, going into next year, then I'll think, I think they finally got the managerial spot right. But AJ Hinch is another guy that I have in my scalding hot. And the reason for it is because not because of the cards he's dealt with, but that he you would think when they brought him in, it's like, oh, the Tigers going to improve under his coaching style. Yeah, no, that's not happening. You're dealt with a lot of injuries. Javi Baez still stinks. Yeah,
Javi Baez is out here swinging at pitchers 10 feet away from him.
It's a mess in Detroit.
Yeah.
It's a bad mess. So continuing the scalding, Rocco Baldelli. Now, I would say I think he's another guy that his hot seat's he's on a very hot seat because the fact that, yes, if they somehow collapse and not make the playoffs, yeah, it's time to move on from Rocco Baldelli because he has not, the way I look at it, he hasn't really been the greatest that the Minnesota has had. Despite, you had guys like Correa, Royce Lewis has been playing lights out from the offensive side of things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pedro Griffol, Chicago White Sox.
He's gone. He's gone. Like, out of there, gone. This year, gone.
Yeah.
How do you have... And plus, I honestly think everybody needs to be gone, from the GM to the manager, or from the GM to the owner to the manager. They need to go, because the White Sox have zero culture. They have zero structure. This is a ball club. You have to have structure, and they don't have it.
Yeah,
you have players yelling at each other. A manager that doesn't care. Which this is why he's on the hot seat. You have an owner that doesn't care, a GM that doesn't care. Nobody cares on this team. Nobody.
Why do you think? This also shows to why the White Sox have been irrelevant since after 2005.
Yeah, because nobody. The only time they halfway cared was when they somehow made the playoffs, and I think 2020. Yeah, 2020, when they somehow made the playoffs.
Another guy on the
and they somehow made the playoffs again in 2021, which was a longer season. I'm going to count that. I'm not going to count 2020. 2021 was when they halfway cared. And then after that, nothing.
It really isn't. Mark Kotsay from the Oakland Athletics is on my scalding hot, is the next one on the list. Now, it's kind of unfair to say because, he got thrown into a situation, okay, so let me rephrase that. But yeah, like I said, he kind of got thrown into the situation that's, well, not his fault, but at some point, but knowing the A's front office, they don't keep the managers for long. I mean, well,
they don't keep good players for long.
So managers and players, they don't even last long unless you're not named. But it's
unless you're not named, and then nothing. Exactly, bro. Exactly.
Not unless you're named Bob Melvin, who, funny enough, is next on my list in terms of the scalding hot seat. Dude, look, you had a star-studded roster and the San Diego Padres, and you've been
Again, I feel like it's not on him. I feel like it's on. Well, then again, it is on him because he can coach them. Egos are just too high there. You have a high ego, you have low effort. High ego, low effort means no wins.
I mean, for a team that last year made the NLCS, lost to us in 5 games, And they pretty much curse themselves, but that's besides the point. But man, looking at guys like Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Juan Soto, a solid pitching staff. You got good players all around.
Yeah, exactly. And the sad thing is, the entire year that pitching staff carried or tried to at least.
At least. I mean, Darvish has become injury prone ever since he signed that extension. He hasn't really been what he once was. I mean, and the fact they're barely, they're not even close to a third wild card spot at this point. It's been very disappointing for Bob Melvin and the rest of the San Diego Padres. It's kind of hard because right now they're 6.5 out and they're fourth in the. Because think about it. Which also I find it funny. Before we go on to the next guy, they were heavily favorites to win the NL West, and boy, does that look.
They were heavy favorites to win the West, heavy favorites, and now they are bottom of the barrel, bottom tier. Issues all around the board with this team. Egos are just too high, and Bob Melvin, he's gonna be gone.
Next guy on the list that's on scalding hot, Phil Nevin, manager for the Angels. Honestly,
you had a good run. You had a good run from April to July. What happened, Nevin? What happened? Yes, something. Guys were getting hurt because they're older, and yes, most of the blame should be on the GM and the owner. But Nevin, you should know that if you have a winning record by the break, you keep it going. You get these players to keep it going, and you didn't. You didn't.
We thought they were who they thought they were, frauds.
And yes, that is a reference to that one press conference from the NFL. We thought who they thought they were.
Going further up the list, Ollie Marmol for the St. Louis Cardinals. Let's be real, that entire team has been disappointing.
Again. Good roster. I even thought that they would actually make the playoffs this year. Again. I didn't think they would be, in a bad state. Wilson Contreras being there, I thought it would be working wonders. I thought that'd be a good replacement for Yachty.
Nope. Apparently he's been disappointing. It also ties to the fact that the pitching staff has been disappointing.
Pitching staff sucks.
I mean, right now,
they're bad.
St. Louis right now is sitting at 60 wins to 78 losses, and they're 11.5 out of a wild card spot.
They're basically done.
Yeah, Bud Black for me is my next one. Let's be real. The fact that Colorado has kept it around this long is beyond me. For a team that seems like they do not care whatsoever. It's like, we're going to play 500 ball. Like, that's not good enough. Look, they're 51-78. They're already eliminated from postseason contention because, let's be real, the roster stinks, and Bud Black has not really done much to show for it. And quite honestly, I think at some point the Colorado's got to have to. If they keep them if somehow Colorado keeps the Rockies keep them around another year, I'm going to be shocked if they do.
It is going to be shocking. It is going to be shocking because Bud Black has not done anything this year. Anything.
That's not really shown for it.
This team has done nothing.
Next to nothing. Now the fact you signed Chris Bryant, who's been very disappointing, right? McMahon's been kind of okay. I mean, you traded away. I mean, that entire franchise is a mess. And that goes from the front office to the players to the manager. We're getting to the top two now. Number 2 is Derek Shelton. Now,
oh gosh, I got a lot to say about him. Man.
So here's my thing, right? The talent is there with the Pittsburgh Pirates, but for some reason, Derek Shelton can't use it properly. for whatever
You
reason,
had a quality pitching staff, and you overworked their arms to death. Now they can't pitch, and now they're bottom of the barrel again.
for a team that I thought they were obviously they're heavy favorites, but I thought this team could potentially win the division. Right now, they completely collapsed under the leadership of Derek Shelton, and it's sad. Not say sad, but you got some good talent on this Pittsburgh roster. Look, Austin Hedges, yeah, offensively he's hot garbage, but when in terms of the defensive side of things, been very solid. You got guys that Connor Joe's been playing better. Yes, it may not be the biggest name, but you got role players are willing to
And you
step up.
also not only do you have role players, you have Kutch back, and he's turned back the clock.
Exactly. Like, how do you
Like, like this is on Shelton. It's on him.
You have the talent, but apparently you can't tap into it. Apparently, in the world of Derek Shelton. Number one, who obvious that Mr. Mother effort Aaron Boone. Now
again, man, like the culture with him has just not been there.
It's non-existent.
And it's just it's non-existent. It's not been there. Culture's ruined. Again, in this situation, you could blame the GM a bit more because he constructed a roster of guys who were over 30 instead of building for the future a little bit. Getting younger and getting less injury prone. We got injuries all across the board. You just have so much wrong with this team, and Aaron Boone's part of that problem.
And think of this too, with the problem with Aaron Boone is like if his starting pitchers are getting lit up, he keeps them in there. Like he doesn't pull them. Like say they're giving 7-8 runs.
And I've watched games recently because shout out to Rob, my buddy here, giving me his MLB TV stuff.
It's hard to watch. It's hard to sit through a Yankees game without not getting frustrated or getting brain dead. Just it is.
I saw a game where he did that. It was like you have a guy who was struggling in seventh. He kept him in there.
He kept him in there.
Dude, he's struggling. Take him out. He's tired. It's like Aaron Boone forgets that guys get tired in the pitching staff. And you got to use that bullpen when that happens. He doesn't do it. And
why do you think a lot of Yankees fans are ticked off?
Yeah,
and
the two guys they want gone: Kyle Steinbrenner, and Aaron Boone.
Brian Cashman is another one of the Yankees
and
fans.
Brian Cashman.
I never heard Yankee fans that want Steinbrenner gone.
Steinbrenner, dude, they hate Steinbrenner. They're like, oh, he ain't like that. He ain't like his dad George, and his dad
George is probably rolling us great. Because first of all, this is a history. Look, the Yankees. When you look back at this history, they're a historic franchise. They've been around. Yes, people are gonna say, "Oh, 27 rings." Marcel has not been alive for most of that. And look, from the 90s, from say 95, obviously up to like the mid 2000s, you had some star-studded players, and Jorge Posada, Derek Jeter. Unfortunately, Aroyd, I had to put him in there, but he had some good years with New York, and I freaking hate to say that. Underrated guys like Bernie Williams. You had Mariano Rivera, the back end of the bullpen. Like the list can go on and on.
Yeah, it can go on and on. And the thing is, you know how much of a joke the Yankees have become this year under Brian Cashman, under Hal Steinbrenner, and under Aaron Boone? Or Aaron Boone? God damn, I can't speak. But the thing is, you know what happens? They have a 500 record or worse for the first time since 95.
Yeah.
Since 95. Put it this way. We're what, 2 years shy of 30 years for this?
Yeah, it's bad.
Like it's gotten it's gotten to the point where it's just, like, come on.
It was also crazy about that too. After they won the World Series over us in 2009, they have not been the same ever since.
Ever since they won that World Series in 09.
It just seems like when you win the World Series, you either get the hangover or it's cursed for what I'm not trying to sound like a superstitious, but I feel like with teams like the Yankees or someone winning a World Series and it cannot be the same again, I feel like that either it's a hangover for one or it could just be flat out cursed.
I honestly don't believe that at all. I don't believe that. But the problem with the Yankees is that they did what we did, and that's what caused our 11-year rebuild. They kept the older guys for too long.
And unfortunately,
they kept the older guys for too long. It's like us in 2011. After that 2011 season, after that 2012 misstep of being 500, we kept guys who are aging, who are not skilled anymore, who let's be real, they weren't that great anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you see it. Well, with Utley, you can see. I mean, look, perfect examples. After when Howard tore his Achilles, he has not been the same ever since.
And they kept him for four more years, like
until
that's the issue. That's the issue with the Yankees. They're keeping the guys that don't deserve to be there anymore.
And yet, you're not willing to use your farm system to actually build for the future and actually rebuild.
They finally called up two guys.
Jason Dominguez is one of them that's been the most
Jason
hyped
Dominguez.
up prospect.
Yes.
And he's 20 years old and has to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing though, Rob, like you have a guy who was highly touted, you still haven't called him up until September.
Yeah. Like when you knew you were going into the situation, like you could have probably called him up in July for all I care for
when you still had a winning record.
You could have saved your season that way, but no, you were too. And see, that's where the problem lies too. It's still the old Yankee way.
It's stubbornness. It's stubbornness.
You're still stuck with that same Yankees tradition that George implemented. And crap like that. And that's why a lot of people laugh at the Yankees. Like, first of all, you're a historic franchise because when you think that, they're going to have a lot of success because that's what originally when you look at the Yankees franchise as a whole is the people want to emulate that, but that's no longer the case. Who's the one team that a lot of teams want to emulate? The Houston Astros. They know how to get it done. They had two in the span of 5 years.
But once in 2017, one last year, so 2 and 5. Yeah, 2 and 5 years.
And yet they know how.
And not only that, Rob, they've been to 3 World Series in those 5 years.
Exactly. 3. And what does Houston also do? They know how to build for the future.
Yeah.
Don't keep on guys for far too long. Yeah. Look, they brought back JV, but I think it's more of a venture, like a veteran leadership. In a certain sense, I don't think I think Verlander's is at some point I have a gut feeling he might at least give her like a year or two, at least just one more year before he hangs it up.
But look at that lineup too. Like they have a lot of young players, but they also have that veteran presence in Bregman and Altuve still.
Yeah, and Altuve, and think of Altuve. He's seen the worst of what the Astros have been. Remember,
Astros, he's seen the 100 loss team.
Oh yeah, that's he's. And think about it. I mean, yes. I mean,
he was drafted when they were still a National League team.
Yeah, which is crazy. That's the thing too. Like, that's the thing too. Like, that's where I think a lot of times, look, get jealous of the Astros, but they are doing it right of what the Yankees could have done had they not get their heads so shut far up their rear ends. It's not even funny.
Yeah. But, it's gotten to the point where it's just like. The Yankees, honestly, they need to blow it up and fire Boone. Blow it up, fire Boone. And if Cashman don't want to do that, fire him.
I don't know if that's going to happen, unfortunately.
That's the thing is like you can say they need to blow it up and you can say that Cashman needs to wake up 90%.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it.
There's a 95 to 100% chance they're not doing that. They're going to keep doing it the old Yankee way, and it ain't going to work.
It's bad enough you have the entire state of New York for New York baseball are the most disappointing in a very long time.
Yeah.
It's crazy when not say crazy, but it's crazy when you look at it. The Mets, high expectations, high pay, a top 2 payroll, completely fell out of the playoff, out of the wild card race. You got the Met or the Yankees, even 500, for the first time in almost 30 years. I was like, oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
It's been terrible, I would say, for the state of New York baseball. But all in all, I really do think that, like I said, most of these managers we talked about that are in the scalding category, either those are some of the changes that need to be made. And, and the fact you have guys that actually have talent that actually can never want to tap into it. Derek Shelton, we're looking at you because we've seen it through one of our other shout out to one of, but I know a lot of Pirates fans are kind of fed up with it. Because if
Yeah,
you think about it,
if I was a Pirates fan right now, I would be angry.
because if you think about it, y'all haven't been back to the postseason since Kutch's MVP year, for crying out loud.
No, they haven't been back since what, 2015?
I think 2014 or 2015, somewhere around there. And that was as a wild card team against the Cincinnati Reds, who at the time also had a good team back then and just became like a laughing stock ever since. Both franchises, both Pirates and Cincinnati, have become laughing stocks after 2015. Then you had to move away from Kutch, who was okay since he left. But since he's came back this year, it's like he didn't look like he picked up where he left off.
It's like he never left, man. It's not. It's
like he's
always.
Like I think he should be always been a Pittsburgh lifer, and the way how he looks at it, and and it's kind of crazy because I do think I want to see. I definitely know there's a bright future for Pittsburgh, but the front office and Derek Shelton there's changes need to be made in the front office and Derek Shelton. That's the way I look at it for the Pittsburgh Pirates, because the talent is there, even in the minor leagues. It is what it is. But all in all, that's going to conclude it for another episode of Between Lines, episode number 14. So shout out to them. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. With postseason baseball right around the corner. It's gonna be a lot of fun. That being said, I got nothing else to add. Tyler, any final thoughts before we get up out of here?
The wild card race is heating up for both sides. I'm excited to see where teams lie by the end of September. Hopefully our Phillies make it, which they will. Most definitely they will. I want to see Boston try to make that leap and try to make it, because they have a winning record.
Yeah,
they just got to put it together, and they got a great coach in core. So they have to go. They have to do better in that AL side, because you have the Yankees who are bottoming out right now.
And you got Toronto, who
Toronto's bottoming out.
And
right
now, right now you have the catch up to Tampa Bay, probably Seattle and Texas right now in the wild card. And I do have a feeling,
dude, Texas is gonna go.
Yeah,
I feel like Boston needs to be in that second gear in this last month.
Have to,
because Texas is imploding from the inside out. So I feel like Boston has more of a chance than ever to get that third wildcard spot.
Absolutely. But with that being said, this was Robert and Tyler with Between the Lines, episode number 14. Like I said, with baseball coming around the corner,
with baseball coming around the corner,
or postseason. That's what I meant.
Oh, I was about to say baseball already started, man. We're in the thick of the season.
It's but for those who are for those who are hello, to all Red Sox fans, like I said, don't lose hope. I mean, look,
don't lose hope. Lose hope.
Just y'all gotta kick it a second gear, and then if you can steal a wild card spot, then fantastic.
Yep.
But Yankees fans and definitely Mets fans, well, how do I? It's
Sorry, but your times are up.
yeah, it's
It's
like,
over. You know, the Yankees. Your time is up. You've been dominant for 20+ years, so
and
it's
now
your
you're
time
finally,
to rebuild. You're
yeah,
finally hitting that rock bottom again. So
yeah.
it's time for y'all to go. But anyway,
With that being said, this concludes it, and peace out.
peace.